Part two, breaking at rock bottom. So there I was, jobless, broke, no marketable skills, because kid show actor doesn't translate to jack in the real world, buried under a healthcare system that demands brutal monthly tolls just to stay alive, with a family hanging by a financial thread just like me, staring into the forsaken pit of complete and utter despair. The only available room was my childhood bedroom, now transformed into a baby nursery for the niece my mom babysat, in the same soul crushing, scarcity poisoned factory town that could suck the life force out of Mother Teresa herself. On top of all that, I had 12 permanently placed toxic dental crowns that the Korean team had installed in my mouth before I left. Turns out that black zirconia, metals used in them, are illegal in most countries because they leak neurotoxins straight into your nervous system and brain. Lucky me. I had no idea what material they'd used until years later, when I asked my dentist to chip off a piece and have it analyzed. I got the idea from a dental crown group support. I can't believe I just typed those words out. After reading a post from a woman whose life had been destroyed by the exact same material, placed during a dental crown procedure in Korea. Hers was just a tiny molar filling, but it was enough to unravel her mind. Within months, her marriage collapsed. She lost her job because she could barely function, and she ended up in a psychiatric ward for weeks before finally connecting the dots. That was one filling for her. Meanwhile, I'm walking around with 4 times that poison per tooth, which means I was carrying 48 times whatever broke her brain. Every morning, I'd wake up and genuinely ask God why he was keeping me alive for this particular brand of torture. The crowns were obviously causing problems. What I chalked up most symptoms and newly found severe mental health issues to trauma and circumstances, missing the bigger picture of systematic poisoning. The price tag for salvation was somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 for a full mouth reconstruction. When you're broke and bleeding into your pillow every night, that might as well have been $1 million. At my breaking point, I had my front crown completely removed and refused to let them put anything back in, preferring to walk around with a missing tooth rather than endure more pain from my catastrophically misaligned bite. So I walked around for months without a front tooth like some toothless hillbilly, which in that particular corner of Kentucky meant I finally fit in with the local aesthetic. 4 years of waking up spitting blood and my brain slowly being cooked with extreme anxiety, I finally could afford to fix the mess. After a year of braces to properly align my ground down teeth, something the original Korean dentist hack skipped, the natural crowns went on and delivered instant, tear inducing relief. But those 12 botched root canals had turned into a bacterial war zone, with infections raging through my jaw and skull, coupled with inflammation that was measured at 10 times normal levels. I needed 12 more root canals. But in the meantime, the toxicity had rewired my entire nervous system into hyperdrive. Every light source felt like the staring into the sun. Every sound was amplified agony. And my family's relentlessly barking dog, living behind paper thin walls, made the home feel like an acoustic nightmare. I hid behind sunglasses, and headphones like they were survival gear, turning myself into a shut in who looked ready for the world to end. Staying alone was almost a given because I had nothing in common with the small town mindset I spent my whole adult life trying to escape. I was nothing like the old me, the lively film guy who used to bring energy and charm to every set. Communication with my family became nearly impossible, despite their incredible love and support. They'd handled my basic needs, laundry, meals, everything, because I was completely non-functional on many days. But when your son is yelling to you, he wants to die, but lacks the courage to unalive himself, what the hell are you supposed to say to that? 4 years after my brother's sudden death at 34 from a heart attack linked to overprescribed painkillers, my parents were still deep in grief. And now they were forced to watch minute by excruciating minute as their other son crumbled into nothing, knowing that, unlike his brother's tragic but innocent death, this loss would mean eternal separation. Because suicide in their Catholic hearts meant losing me not just to this life, but for all eternity. The crying spells were constant. They thought maybe God could help where medicine had failed. So I'd sit through nightly rosary sessions, mouthing nothing while I desperately prayed. I'd quit social media entirely because everyone else's happiness felt like a personal attack. TV and movies were off limits too. I could feel every character suffering, and seeing actors reminded me of everything I'd lost. I dragged myself to one of the town's pathetic handful of empty, rundown coffee shops. updating my resume, and desperately trying to transform children's TV show performer into something that sounded remotely employable. The days melted into one endless gray blur. I eventually landed a job tutoring math to autistic kids for $30 an hour. The only thing I could cognitively handle while my brain was under siege. It barely made a dent in the mounting medical and dental bills. One particular day that stands out, I remember a simple trash run taking 20 minutes because of SSRI side effects and treatment resistant depression had turned my brain into molasses. And I realized I'd become a literal pharmaceutical zombie shuffling through the motions of existence. That day, I laid on the grass and started losing grip on reality. My brain just went sideways. It's the only thing and the only way I can describe it. It was like an old Nintendo game freezing mid level. 1 second, everything's normal. The next, it's all corrupted graphics and that awful buzzing sound that means nothing works anymore. That night, I started researching the easiest, most painless way to kill myself.